So the Pittsburgh Steelers with pick 84 in the draft decided to select Roman Wilson. So, buy his jersey now, right? He's going to be a good player because it's the Steelers and they drafted a wide receiver and, day 2, they always end up being good. Sometimes not for a while, like Chase Claypool, but usually they end up at least showing some flashes pretty early on. I do think this trend can very much continue with Roman Wilson, who's a guy who, again, I saw some mock drafts even as high as like a fringe first rounder, which I wasn't quite that about Roman Wilson, but for him falling all the way to 84 was a real surprise, and I really like what the Steelers did with Peyton Wilson, but I also like this pick, so let's get into what I think he will do well for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's start off with this play. The way this is going to work is it's zone coverage, and you see the route that Peyton Wilson is running on this play. It's going to be kind of more of a deeper route here. Okay, that's the way this play is designed to work, but here's what I like about Peyton Wilson, is he isn't just someone who runs to his spot. Sometimes he does, which, hey, sometimes that's what the situation calls for. But at the NFL level, you usually need to have every little trick you can to try and get open, and I think he has that. When this play begins, you see that, look at how high towards the top of the screen he is running. He will use route running to his benefit. He will do some little things to help himself get open, which this is something the Steelers really like with their players. They like guys who will be maybe some subtle in their route running, which is what Wilson is doing here. So then when he cuts back more over the middle, you see that right here, there is a good amount of separation. The route running is very good. Some people have compared him to like Julian Edelman, which, okay, well, listen, I get the obvious reasons why that comparison happens, but I do have to say, Edelman's one of the best route runners of all time. I don't think it's fully fair to make that comparison, but I can see why the comparison gets brought up, because he is very good. As you see, well-thrown ball, Roman Wilson gets a touchdown, so is definitely able to do that stuff really well, but I also think just even I talk about subtlety, I think even more subtle ways. Like going over here, he has this kind of he's very unafraid of contact. He'll run in areas that I think a lot of receivers don't love to run in because you can get slowed down with contact, but he wants to get to his spot. And this play is a good example of that, where it's a one-on-one matchup on a more underneath route here, although it's going to be a little bit further down the field than what I've shown. But still, it's trying to get the first down here on a 3rd down and 8. But before I show you this play, I want you to really just focus on Wilson and focus on what kind of leverage he gets when this play begins. Look at how he's kind of determined to get to his spot and runs right up to that defender before moving over the middle. You can't just run through the defender. That would be a penalty, right? Unless the defender purposely put themselves there. You have to make sure that you don't do that. But he really will run up right towards you and even bump you a little bit at times. He is not afraid of playing tight. He is not afraid of close quarters or being having contact happen. And the benefit of that is right here, you see how he has the leverage he wants, and he has carved out a window for J.J. McCarthy to make a throw. That's what McCarthy does, and also you see Wilson, he's not, going down. He runs right over a guy, which, hey, you could have stepped out of bounds, buddy. I know that you like to, play tough and all that. Their sideline was there, but that's just not what he does, which I think you like as a fan and as a coach. You like that he's someone who is going to fight for the extra yards, because here, okay, maybe taking that hit for the extra 2 yards wasn't really worth it, but there are going to be times when it is worth it, and he will go for it on those times. He can also make some tough catches, like this one's like a crazy one where I almost broke down the whole play, but I don't need to break down the whole play. The catch was what was cool about it. He's not someone who is afraid to make a contested catch as well. He'll go up and make the play work. When you go up at the NFL level, are you going to have tougher competition? Yeah, of course, but still, it's promising to see he can do this stuff. Going over here, he also will use his route running to set up leverage, something like this, where it's, he's the slot receiver here, which is probably what he's going to be at the NFL level, is a slot receiver, and you see the route that he's going to be running. But watch this little fake here. Watch how he kind of fakes and then cuts to where, again, he's carved out that little window. So that's what he's trying to do, is just get the leverage he wants. He is not someone who's trying to blow by you, which some people might think is a concern, right? Don't you like a Marvin Harrison Jr. who can just run by, you? Well, sure, but Marvin Harrison Jr. goes in the top 5. The guys who go here are either guys who kind of have all the speed or guys who have everything else. Roman Wilson's fast as well, don't get me wrong. He just doesn't usually do that to get open. He kind of relies on other stuff. when we're talking about guys this late in the process, I'd much rather have a guy who can just get these windows than a guy who has the physical traits but maybe doesn't, you don't see him actually play well. Because you see right here, McCarthy makes the throw, Wilson's able to make the grab, they pick up a big gain there. So really good job by Wilson once again to be able to pull these kind of things off. This is what you expect him to do with the Steelers. And also just stuff like this, where on paper, this is a route that isn't that difficult. And I think a lot of people will see these types of plays and say, oh, this is only how he wins. Well, then I'm not interested. He's not that good. Where it's kind of a route designed to get open against zone coverage. When it begins, that's, what's happening. But you see him, I think he's doing a good job at sitting down where there is a window, seeing the zone coverage and just sitting down in it. And listen, we can sit here and say, oh, that's not as difficult as juking out a guy and getting open against a man and stuff like that. Well, Travis Kelce has become one of the best receiving tight ends in football, in large part due to his signature move is what Roman Wilson is doing here. That's, of course, not all he can do, but for Roman Wilson, this is something you want to see a guy, want to have a guy who can do, is just, get open here. And I think for the Steelers, they've kind of missed that a little bit of just hey, go over the middle and get open. Freiermuth does it well, but they miss it out of the wide receiver position a bit. Because here it's complete, and also, hey, kind of the old expression, you're going to get hit anyway, might as well make the catch. Well, that's what he was able to do on top of it. So, yeah, really good stuff there by Roman Wilson. I think there are really two main critiques I have with Roman Wilson, and these are probably why he fell as much as he did. For one thing, I think he has some of the skill set to work as a outside receiver. We just haven't really seen it, and with him not being the biggest receiver at just 6 feet tall, 190 pounds, he's probably just a slot guy. That's probably what he is. The other thing is just the route running. While really effective at the college level, it's one of those things where if it doesn't work as well at the NFL level, what else can he do? How many other, moves does he have? And with him, oftentimes liking to play kind of in close quarters, when you're going up against NFL linebackers that can knock the ball away, if they're anywhere within the vicinity, it's going to be tougher to make some of those plays work. So I think that's why he fell. But I still think there's enough there with me for Roman Wilson that not only am I a fan of this pick, I think he should have been picked earlier. I think this was a mistake by the NFL. And I think that, teams often undervalue slot receivers until you need one. A valuable slot receiver is really valuable and really important. And Wilson is someone who I think could be a really good slot guy for the Steelers who could use one. So, yeah, as a whole, really big fan of this selection. That's what I think about all of it. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. What were your thoughts on the Roman Wilson pick? Always love hearing from you. And, of course, as always, thanks for watching.